I don't own lighting equipment, okay? I'm just out here trying to make it as a YouTube content creator, but I don't have all the gear because if you don't know this, I have 3 little kids in daycare, so money is a little tight. So lighting is just gonna be what it is. It's a cold, rainy day, and if I turn on my overhead lights, I literally look like I have no eyeballs because the shadows are so bad. So bear with me. I'm sure the lighting's gonna get better in this video because it's gonna take place over multiple days of Christmas cookie making. Welcome to the Nobles Nido. My name is Sarah if you're new around here, and this is part 2 in a 3-part series on Christmas cookie boxes. Every year we bake and give out 900 cookies to our friends, family, and coworkers, and this year is no different. We are making 10 types of cookies. I have a previous video, part 1, that covers all of the cookies that we're gonna make, all of the recipes we're gonna make, and the entire grocery haul for these cookies. This video is just gonna be the making and the prepping of the cookie dough, and then the 3rd video will be the batch baking of all of the dough. Something I think I am gonna do different this year that I haven't done in previous years is I'm gonna bake off at least a couple of those cookies and freeze them. Cookies freeze super well, and so I think that's gonna lighten my load a little bit on bake day. Bake day is always so chaotic, I'm always exhausted. It's like 48 hours of just shuffling things in and out of the oven. It takes over the whole house. If the kids are home, it's a mess. It's hard on my husband. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and bake off some of the cookies. I think what we'll probably bake off is our salty lemon shortbread, our Neapolitan cookies, maybe a couple others like the Linzer cookie bases and stuff like that. We have been testing recipes. This is the first year we've done that too, but I didn't want to bake things that I hadn't tried before, and my chocolate chip cookies have failed me for like the past couple of years. I think the butter gets too soft in them in the whole process. We did test the chocolate chip cookies, but then we also tested freezing some salty lemon shortbread, pulling it out about a week later, and it was still really good. We tested it yesterday. Also, if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps me and it really helps my family. But I'm gonna be releasing a series of shorts in which I test all of these cookies. So you won't see me finish and eat the cookies on this video, but if you check out my shorts, I'll have 10 shorts featuring my rating of each of the cookies and trying one of them. So this is day 1. I'm gonna go ahead and start on our chocolate chip cookies. I have a friend coming over, a really good friend. Her husband and my husband like grew up together, and luckily they adopted me into their friendship because she's fantastic and her family's fantastic and we love them deeply. She's gonna come over for an hour or 2 and just help me bake. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the chocolate chip cookie dough made so that while I'm making the Neapolitan cookie dough, she can start scooping out those chocolate chip cookies so we can get them freezing. Yeah, that's how we do this, is we will make all the dough and then freeze all of the dough, and then we'll go back and bake it all in one day, with the caveat that we are gonna bake some of them off in this series. Video, whatever. I don't know. Let's go make cookie dough. So typically you have been shoved in a corner where my mixer lives while I make cookie dough, because I haven't had anything on this island that I could plug my mixer into. But my father, my wonderful MacGyver of a father, installed a plug here when I was in the hospital with my last baby. So in March, he installed this here so that I could use this as a cooking space. It's just like so my dad's love language to be like, you just had a baby, let me make your life easier by DIYing a project around your house. So anyways, anybody else's dad like that? So grateful for it. So we are gonna be able to mix and make dough right here, which is hopefully gonna make things way better this year. This is my big girl mixer. I got her a couple of Christmases ago. I think I've had her for, this is my 3rd Christmas with her. I love her. She is amazing. She's like the industrial grade KitchenAid. My mother-in-law also has a KitchenAid. They're in the process of moving, but I'm gonna see if I can get it, because a lot of my recipes are 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the original recipe, and I put her through a lot last year, not breaking up those recipes because I was trying to save on time. So I think I'm gonna try to get my mother-in-law's mixer. That way I don't have to make so many batches at one time and also not strain my mixer. Okay, let's go. Okay guys, I have to warn you, for whatever reason, one of my cameras just doesn't stabilize very well. So, by cameras I mean phone. Doesn't stabilize very well on its stand. So I'm really sorry some of the videos are just a little shaky. So maybe take some Dramamine, wear your seasick bands. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So there's just really not anything super fancy about this recipe. It is a new recipe and I've loved it so far. I'm really hopeful that it turns out well on bake day. Previously I was using the Ghirardelli recipe on the back of the double or the dark chocolate Ghirardelli chips, and it just kept failing me. But this one seems to be doing pretty good, so I'm excited to try it. Look, I'm always fighting this mixer. She's heavy, and so sometimes I don't ever pull up on her enough and everything falls back down. And then, inevitably, I spend this entire time getting flour everywhere. I'm not very efficient this year. I don't know what happened. Could be all these humans that I have now distracting me, but my efficiency has just gone out the window. So, some things might make you cringe, but we get it done. I've also been pretty lazy about hand mixing in my chips. I know you're not technically supposed to use your mixer to mix-ins, but I just don't, I got weak arms, okay? I don't have like good, strong baker's arms to mix everything in, so maybe one day, I'm hopeful that one day I can have big, strong baker's arms. But for now, gotta have Bertha help me out, Bertha my mixer. So I'm just covering this and letting it chill in the fridge for a few minutes. Eventually I do put it in a new bowl so that I can take this mixer back and get working on different dough. But I'm just letting it rest. I'm actually taking a noodle break. These are the best pre-made noodles ever. I love them so much. They were my pregnancy craving. I still love them. And so I think it was like 10:30 a.m. here, and I was like, I have to have these. So now I'm going to start working on that Neapolitan dough. And this is just your basic dough recipe, and then you split it up and add flavoring to it. But other than that, it's just pretty basic. Something I have done more times than I care to admit is grab baking soda or baking powder when I need the other one. Look, boom! I did not need baking soda for this recipe. Thank goodness I caught myself. I have ruined many a baked good using the wrong one. And the flavor of baking soda, when you've put in too much baking soda, whoo, girl, is rough. So here I don't really show making the dough because it's just really not that special. It's something you've seen a million times. But here I'm just showing you how I made each flavor. So the strawberry was a couple extra tablespoons of flour, some red food coloring, and some strawberry extract, and a little bit of strawberry jam. And then you just mix it all up until it's well incorporated. These definitely are not perfect, and I'm probably going to have to dip part of them in chocolate because they have some streaks of red in them. I was distracted chatting with my girlfriend. But they turned out fine. And so here's the chocolate dough. This was just cocoa powder and a little bit of melted chocolate that I think I added to that one. And then I pressed them in layers into these loaf pans. I didn't show you that just because that wouldn't really be very exciting for you because I don't have clear-sided loaf pans. So, but you can see the layers in just a minute when I cut it. And naturally, because I'm terrible at being consistent, I had to bust out my ruler. And this ruler, y'all, I've had it for so long that while I was doing this, I was like, I can't see these numbers. So I had to take a Sharpie to it and write all the numbers on it to remind myself where it all was.
Now, I don't know if you know the crink and lay method, but with parchment paper, you just ball it up, and then it lays out so perfectly nice and uniform with whatever it is you're putting it in.
This is why I would never sell these boxes, because I am so imperfect in what I do. These are so different in size. And if I sold these boxes, I don't think I'd do a good enough job of being consistent. So, works for free, doesn't work to sell.
So I'm just wrapping these back up to put these in the fridge to let them rest for a little bit. I am going to bake these off and then freeze them because from what I've read, they freeze really nicely. So that's just what I'm doing here. Not super efficient because then I get them back out and rearrange them. But it just worked for the moment. Small kitchen, gotta do what you gotta do. Also, small brain space, you're just making decisions on the fly, okay? And so now I'm just bagging up those chocolate chip cookies that Erin scooped out for me and just getting that all ready to be put in the freezer. And that's just how I'll store it until it's the time to bake, and then we'll bake them all off. So for these Neapolitan cookies, I'm just brushing them with an egg wash, and then I'm topping them with turbinado sugar. And I wish I hadn't done that because the sugar is brown, and you'll see when they bake that they almost look dirty. So a little bummed. I'm gonna make 2 more pans of these and keep the best ones. And I'm just gonna keep the best ones. I'm gonna keep the best ones for the boxes, and then the ones that I can get away with that had turbinado sugar on them, I will put those in as well, but for the most part, I'm just going to replace a lot of these because I don't love the way they looked. When I bake, I take the extra step of rotating my trays, so halfway through, I will flip all the trays around, and if there are trays on the bottom, I'll move them to the top, move the top ones to the bottom, and then rotate their position as well, because it just helps get a more even bake in your oven. So you can see they look dirty, and so that's a bummer. I am, like I said, going to dip these in chocolate. I don't know if it'll be the chocolate side or a whole side or what, but that should help as well. And then short girl problems, all of my baking stuff is in this cabinet above my fridge, and so I have to get up there to get all of the cooling racks and all of that stuff down. And now I'm just because I'm going to freeze these, and moisture and water is the bane of anything's existence in the freezer, I am letting these fully cool, and so I'm setting up cooling racks to let them cool while I'm also putting more cookies out, doing an egg wash, putting sanding sugar on them, and then I'm just going to keep doing that until I'm all the way done with these cookies. So now I believe I am working on hold on, it's going to come to me. It's going to come the Magic 5 dough. So I still have to do an extra batch of this, but I made 2 things of Magic 5 dough. This cookie is just so good. It's got like a hint of molasses in it, which really takes it over the top because it's a fairly sweet cookie. It's got brown sugar, it's got butterscotch, it's got chocolate, it's got pecans, it's got coconut, and it's just like fairly sweet. But the molasses adds this depth of like richness to the cookie that really balances it all out. And then of course you have the texture of the oats and the pecans, and she's a keeper for sure. Me endlessly scraping down my KitchenAid because I'm just too cheap to buy the paddle attachment that has the rubber edging on it that will scrape the bowl for you, which honestly, it's not perfect anyways. Like, you still kind of have to scrape the bowl when you have that one, but I'm too cheap to buy it. It would probably help a little bit if I had it. So I've started wearing gloves when I make these cookies because it's something about the molasses and all the brown sugar. It's just a very sticky cookie dough and it makes my hands feel awful and weird and gross. So I wear gloves when I scoop this out. Don't always wear gloves because there's a kill step in baking, yada, yada, yada. You can do your own research on that. But in this case, I am. I'm also using a cookie scoop now, and this is the first year I've used a cookie scoop, and it's a game changer for sure. Makes the uniformity and baking of my cookies so good. So that's been great. And this one's held up. I broke my first one. Haven't broken this one. I think it's a KitchenAid one. Now, when I wrap these, I am reusing, you can kind of see it next to me in the corner over there, old saran wrap, because I just don't want to waste saran wrap. And when I mean old, I mean it was on the chocolate chip cookies, and now I'm going to use it to freeze these cookies. So I'm just getting a wrap, popping them in the freezer, and you can enjoy some new cinematic B-roll that I'm trying out. Let me give you one tip, and if you never listen to me about anything ever again, listen to me about this. Bake and cook with kosher salt. Always bake with kosher salt, because it gives these pops of salt that is addictive in your baked goods, especially cakes and buttercream. Use kosher salt. And y'all, working on my favorite cookie, it's our double chocolate espresso. It's so good. She's a beaut. Love her year after year. I'm addicted to her. So just like a basic chocolate chip cookie dough with some espresso in it and tons of chocolate chips. So literally everything that I love. Bitter chocolate and bitter coffee. I could literally just eat this dough forever. It's always interesting baking with my kids around because, as you'll see in just a second, the camera moves, and it's because my kids are always kind of walking, visiting me in the kitchen, and I want it to be an open area, but when there's camera equipment and stuff around, it often means that things get pushed out of the way. Look at her, she's hanging out. She loves to just come up and hug my legs, and it's such a sweet feeling. I love it. And then I ran out of saran wrap, so that was fun. We made it work until I could get to the store and buy a giant roll of saran wrap, which, if you're interested to if you're interested in seeing that, you should check out my December grocery haul. Okay guys, I am beyond pumped about this next recipe. It is so good. Yeah, I cannot believe I discovered it this year. It is a salty lemon shortbread by Allison Roman, I think is her name. Anyways, oh, look at the lemons. There they go. Boom! Oh my gosh, they're running away. It was such a funny night because it was the end of a workday night when I was making this and the lemons were just giving me trouble. So you zest a bunch of lemons into sugar and then you mix it all together and all the essential oils, and it gets so aromatic and the sugar almost gets like fluffy and it's so good. And then you use this to bake these lemon shortbreads, and then you reserve some of it and you put sea salt in it, or flaky sea salt or whatever, and you top the shortbread with this salty, sugary, lemony topping, and it's addictive. My mother-in-law does not like sugar, and she was like, I will eat this forever, because they were over when we were testing out this recipe to see if we wanted to put it in our cookie boxes, and if she loves something sweet, I know it's a winner. On top of the lemoned sugar, it does also call for a little bit of powdered sugar. I'm not really sure. A lot of shortbread recipes do. I'm not really sure if it helps stabilize the recipe or what. It also calls for some preserved lemons, which give this like salty gumminess in little bits. Oh, it's so good. It's just such a random like punch that you're not expecting. Oof, this is a keeper. Okay, people, this is a household staple. So I really wanted this one to be as precise as I could get it. And I'm baking this one off and then freezing it. So to me it was important that it was precise. So I had previously measured my empty mixing bowl, and then I measured the entirety of the mixing bowl with the dough in it once I was done making the dough. Obviously minus the mixing bowl from the dough, yada yada, you know math, and divided that by 3 and added it, split it up into 3 using my scale so that way I could get it pretty even. And then I was using this really cool tool that my mother-in-law got me a couple of years ago, and it's like a mini rolling pin, and I love it. And it's so great for when you're making trays of things like this or pie dough or whatever. I really like this tool. It's a keeper. It's cool. And here I'm just topping it with that sugar, lemon, salt mixture, and I'll be pressing it into the actual dough so that it sticks a little bit better, but it kind of still stays like fluffy and crunchy on the top. I don't know. It's absolute magic. And then once those are done baking, you have to cut them pretty fast, because if you don't, you want to cut them into like thin finger-like strips. And so if you don't cut them super fast, then it's not going to be pliable for you to cut. Like, it still needs to cool all the way down. But, oh, chef's treat. Every chef gets a treat. That's all you need to know. Anyways, you want to cut it when it's still warm and then allow it to cool together overnight or whatever, and it's much better the next day. It's so good the first day, but it's even better the next day. And so I think you get like 30 something cookies out of each tray that you make, and yeah, it's phenomenal.
This is my mother's molasses recipe. Can barely read her handwriting. It says it makes 3 to 4 dozen, but it like maybe makes 20 cookies. Or so that's what I've told myself in years past. So I have a note to make it as a 5 times batch. I'm gonna start with a 2 time. I'm not putting all of the batches together to save my mixer. So I'm going to start with a 2 times batch, and then I'll do another 2 times batch, and hopefully that gets me what I need. This is not a sexy recipe. Okay, it requires Crisco. I know that you have all the things to say about Crisco. I get it. But sometimes you just gotta do it. And this is one of those cases where if it ain't the Crisco, it ain't my mama's molasses cookies.
Another day, another cookie. This day I am working on the oatmeal white chocolate cranberry cookies, and I am just making a pretty basic oatmeal cookie dough, and then throwing in some white chocolate chips and some cranberries. I should have added more cranberries. Add more cranberries if you make this, or try to find low sugar or unsweetened cranberries, because you really need the tang and the sourness of the cranberries to balance out this cookie. It's a good cookie, but it's not going to revolutionize your life, and but it's great for a box with a bunch of other zingers in it. So I went ahead and made the Snickerdoodle dough. Couldn't really film it because my little girl over there, she's teething, trying to walk. She's just real fussy today. So I was running back and forth, taking care of her and trying to take care of the dough. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll it out into balls, and then I'll show you the full sheet tray when it's done. Here are those cookies all scooped out. I don't think I've addressed this yet, but this is how I freeze cookie dough. I scoop it, and then I just layer it. Obviously, I don't do more than 2 layers because I don't want everything up here to necessarily squish the stuff that's down here. But lucky for us, we'll have to let these thaw completely so that we can roll them in cinnamon sugar. So if they get a little squished, they'll just get reshaped. And then I can wrap this up. This is the plastic wrap from another one that I did. I try to keep it for as long as possible. Same with the parchment. And so yeah, those are all done. And then I have to show you my little view while I was doing this.
Some for baby girl's room, because when I actually need them, they won't be here anymore.
Addie.
They get 2 packs.
Oh my gosh, don't you just want to eat her whole? Ugh, she's so cute. I just love her so much. I also love to watch YouTube videos while I'm doing something mindless, like, you know, portioning out dough. It's like a nice little mental break. So here I'm just bagging up the last of my cookie dough. I'm showing you that I do wash my hands as proof that I am clean. Okay, because I know I fly flour everywhere. Don't judge a girl by her flour cloud. Okay? Okay.
Y'all, I have to end the video here. My freezer is at max capacity. Like, there's no more room for anything. And I just pulled more meat out to start thawing for the week. And then, I mean, we're at max capacity. I still have multiple doughs to make, but I can't make them. So it's Friday, Monday and Tuesday, I'm baking it all off. So I will just start working. Some doughs can sit in the fridge for a while, so I'll go ahead and make those if I can. But I can't go on. I can't do anymore. So anyways, thank you for being here. I know this was a long video. I'm so grateful for your views. I'm so grateful to have you here baking along with me. And we'll see you for part 3, where we make dough, bake dough, box dough. Wow. Again, if you're not already, please consider liking and subscribing this video. It really helps me, really helps my family. And we'll see you soon to finish this process. Let's go. Bye-bye.